Palmy and Nancy had successful careers in the fashion industry, actually, until their biggest client shut down and their world came crashing down at that point. Super tough. At that point, they realized that they were trading time for money and relying on one income stream, which is, a little bit risky. And so from there, they discovered apartment syndication and realized that that's where they were really going to find their financial independence. Whew. So fast forward to today, they have now over 100 million in assets under management.
We're actually going to go over the 3-step apartment syndication capital raising system. It's there's no secret or tricks to it. It's really about,
it's really straightforward.
This is a really straightforward business.
It's just about actually doing the doing.
Yes. So step number 1 is define how much capital you can raise, right? Today, you can even start doing the exercise right now.
Yeah, you can do it in the chat box. Picture and imagine right now, what is your deal size? Put it into the box, whatever you think that number is. Is it a $5 million purchase price, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, whatever that number is, put it in the chat box and let us know. And we'll reverse engineer what it needs. You need to raise 15 million. Yeah. Hey, Brenda.
So for 15 million, right?
So 15 million right now, let's say it's a 70% leverage just for easy math. So that's a $4.5 million raise. Now, Brenda, how many people is going to be on your GP team?
You have to start thinking, right? Before you even have a deal.
Yeah. Because it has to be a realistic number. When you first start out, I would say anywhere between 5 to 1 million is a comfortable number that we will believe that someone who's brand new will be able to raise. And so therefore, okay, so let's say the $4.5 million that needs to be raised. Let's say there's
from
the
15
million. So there's 4 GPs, right? Let's make it easy. So it's $1 million per person. $1 million, $50,000 per person. That's 20 people. So now you need to start thinking, you can't just have a 20-person list. That won't be enough because everyone's not going to invest all the time with you. So now maybe 5x that, 100-person list. Can you get a 100-person list? It's not going to be overnight, but you definitely can. Think about it. If you go to a RIA meeting or something, there's going to be at least 10, 20 people there. And if you go to specifically,
or join this kind of
program, your Millionaires program, how many people's in the group? Those are the people that you need to cultivate relationships with because we cross invest all the time.
And I think most of the time, people who are GP, they all start off as passive investor because that's how you gain confidence in knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So if your deal is $15 million, that means that you have to raise 4.5. Obviously, for your first year, you're not going to be able to raise 4.5 million unless you have
unless you're a superstar,
unless you have Jeff Bezos as your uncle or something. So you start forming a team who can potentially
fill in the gap,
right?
So it's okay, maybe you're going to do 1 million. So now you need 3.5. So beyond just looking for the individual investors, start picking out people who love, and have the ability to fundraise.
Who do human capital.
Yeah. So who are those people? Are those people existing GPs who already have experience? Maybe, for example, one of you guys live in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're like, you know what? I know these investors out of Florida. They're killing in Florida, but maybe this is a brand new market. You find the deal and you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, would you like to be would you like to be I have this deal, this is a background, and can you help me raise the difference? And there's a lot of opportunities like that. That's why it's a team sport. You're going to have a lot of collaboration. It's more collaborative than single family for sure.
And I think the key is to do it before you actually have the deal.
Yeah, you have 60 days to close deals, or you start losing money. And at some point after that, you exhaust your extensions, 2 days extension, for example, you may lose your hard money if you're in the state that requires that. So build that today. So part of the action plan for today, number 1 is reverse engineer what you're going to be, what's your deal size, how much money you need to raise from how many people. Then to fill in the gap, start thinking about who you can collaborate with. This right now, we live in a partnership collaboration economy. So therefore, that kind of thing is super easy. So that's your first assignment for today. Okay.
And number two, connect with your potential passive investor, right? So start listing out like people who are in your sphere of influence and list the low and high amount that they may invest in. And as a matter of fact, before you even have a deal, you should even actually reach out to them and ask them, hey, what are they doing with their investing, like their money, right? And you can start like kind of breadcrumb and telling them like what you're doing.
Like you can start out similar to what we said, like
how we had started.
That's how we started. It's like, hey, what are you doing right now? What are your investment strategy? What are you guys doing? What is your long-term plan? You know, like right now, the stock market is super hot. And the Fed's chairman just came out yesterday and said, like, they're going to stop buying bonds, which has been one major contributor to the stock price kind of being on a steroid level rampage. But honestly, like if people are honest with themselves, if would you bet your hard-earned retirement saving, your nest egg on that gamble in that roller coaster? I wouldn't. Most people wouldn't, because human by nature have a loss aversion. If you think like, hey, if the stock may come down or you invest something that's more stable, and like Nan said, has been proven historically over several decades to be really, really incredible in wealth creation, it's a no-brainer. So you have to start talking to people, be passionate, and express that.
And some of you guys who are doing flipping, that's how you actually find your private money lender. But as a matter of fact, this is not like $100,000 investment, right? Right?
It's actually less.
It's actually less. So it's, to us, we raise money from a private money lenders for our flipping. And when we flip, our rehab cost would be like $200,000, $300,000. So that is much harder to raise than like a $50,000.
Mariel knows, she flips in DC. Your purchase price?
Oh, no. I flipped 2 hours from DC to avoid those prices. We bought our houses like 74,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for us, we flip in LA. It's a large number to convince people to,
like $300,000.
So for us, in our experience, it's so much easier to raise money for apartments than flipping. That's just personal. Maybe area wise, it's different, but for us, it's so much easier because the story is there. It's like right now, we know flipping, it's getting tighter. Purchase prices are going up. Cost of construction material cost is getting higher, but none of those variables also exist in apartments. But we're able to raise rent to compensate due to population growth and demand skyrocketing in apartments. So it's a really easy way for us to mitigate the risk. So people see that, they hear that in the news. And if you can convey that from day one, that's also a part of the assignment. Start talking to people. Don't be aggressive and don't try to convince them. Just tell them what you're doing. And like, if you invest and you start getting cash flow distribution,
let them know.
Say, hey, oh, wow, interesting. Just got an ACH. Didn't even do anything. Just got like $1,000 in today. High five. Post that on Facebook. You're not soliciting, right? 506B and C. We understand that. We're not talking about any specific deals, but you're just generally speaking about what you're doing and how successful. And then when people see your success, they're going to have FOMO and they're going to say like, I want in. What are you doing? What's the secret? Hey, this family vacation was paid for by my residents. Boom. Hey, I paid off this credit card debt because my 200 unit apartment, I did nothing. All those stuff.
Yeah. So it's so important that you share with your success, even if you're not a GP yet.
Yeah.
But to get people around you to be introduced to this idea of passive investing via apartment syndication, because the moment that you have deals, they will be like, you know what, I'm in, because they have been hearing your success story, like your small wins that adds up to like, wow, I want that life because my money is just sitting in the bank. It's not making money. So
we've gotten friends who at the beginning heard about our apartment, started from day one, like they knew we were apartment investors. They didn't invest with us. And then now we've gotten to the point where they're asking us like, hey, Nan, Palm, can we be in your deals? We actually turned one down just because, she's a type. We didn't. And also that's the other part. Guys, promise us right in the chat box, we are only going to accept investors who we like. This is a two-way street. We're not begging them, right? So therefore, you do not accept any random person's money. They're going to make your life miserable. Only accept money from people who's in your tribe, who you like. If you don't like them, don't take their money, because if you don't like them today, If they're already driving you crazy, imagine if you have 50 or 100,000 of their money, it's going to be a pain. We have people who specifically we will not let in at all, just because we know how they're going to be. And it's not about asking questions. We love people asking questions about the deal, but you can't be maniacal and like try to control every second of our time to answer your, like, you know.
Yes, because what we do is we actually make people real money. So we're really selective of people who we want to build together. So, and lastly, right, is just let them know when you have investment opportunity, because we hear this all the time. We're like, oh, I'm afraid to send email because I'm afraid to get unsubscribed.
Yeah. So who cares? People who unsubscribe to your list that they helped you. They qualified themselves. Like, great. Now I know I don't have to talk to you. I only want people on our list. We only want people on our list who actually believe in our mission, believe in what we're doing. And so don't feel afraid. And it goes back to it goes full cycle to what we said at the beginning. We're giving people an opportunity. And so when that opportunity comes, you have to blast that out. You have to shout from the top of the roof legally to only the people you know. Hey, I have the deal. You want it in. Are you in?
And for some people who have struggle in raising capital, what you need to do is actually pick up the call and
pick up the phone.
Just call them.
Yeah, this is not be shy and sit back and oh,
the money will come because we have the deal.
So you will get there. You will get to the point where we finish our raises typically 24 to 48 hours, but it not going to be that way for everyone at the very beginning. If you have to, pick up the phone, call them. Hey, you watched my webinar. You've expressed soft interest. What do you think? Do you have any questions? What are the questions I need to answer for you to make that decision to invest? And go through, sit down and actually do it. Talk to them.
Yes, because times is the most valuable asset, right? And they're spending an hour or two watching your webinar. That means they want something. So you ask them hey, do you have any questions? Yeah,
obviously you could have sat on the couch watching reruns of Friends or go walk your dog. You chose to spend an hour and a half with us. What was the reason? Now you haven't committed to investing. Tell us why. Even if you don't invest now, we like to know.
Yeah.
It's all good information so you can learn. If you didn't do something right in the presentation, at least you know how to course correct for the future.